We're gonna get started soon. I'm just telling you, the message is for today. Don't quit on coffee, or coffee will quit on you. Episode of Dynasty Mine. My name is Chris Chung, and this is a feature of the Fakepigskin, our website. As you can see here, I have it displayed now, and y'all can see what we have in store for you. We're not just about football. We have college football, we have NHL, we have MLB, we have NBA, PGA, NASCAR even, and we're just not just the site for Fakepigskin per se, but we are a site for everything related to fantasy sports. We are an affiliate partnered with draftsite.com. Please go visit this site. This is a very exciting time of the year where we're talking about prospects, and they will give you a breakdown from the lens of a draft, from the reality, sports, something that I'm not too familiar with, but definitely something that will be active throughout this season when we're talking about all these rookies, talking about all these prospects, talking about all these new players who are entering an exciting time where they are applying to work for one of the greatest or the highest level of their respective profession, which is the professional football. Now, I want to apologize last time for the last episode where all the graphics were just messed up. For sure that I did try to be too cute and worked around some of the different some different video editing stuff, and sorry, I'm playing with the light. And so I'm gonna make it simpler this time. Just gonna stick with what I'm recording. The effects will be there later on, but I'll improve on my video editing prowess later in life. But before we get any further, I'd like to tell you all how I am admiring my hero and all-time ESPN persona Mina Kimes with her master Lenny. Mina, if you ever see this is the proper relationship, okay? This is Papa down here. This is my partner in crime. We're equal in this relationship. Nobody's master over nobody. And he's always there to guide me, support me, as I do think Lenny does that for you too. But you see the difference between you and I. We are more like partners. But welcome. We have a lot to cover today, and I'm trying to do this in a short amount of time because I'm trying to keep these episodes shorter than my typical rambling. What I would like to focus on, just quick recap of what has happened. We have actually finally entered Super Bowl week. So it's a lot of time talking about all these different things between Tom Brady's growing up experience maybe, or what Jared Goff's favorite food is, what Todd Gurley is doing in the offseason to not lose his job to CJ Anderson. I'm sure it's a very exciting time for first-time head coach Sean McVay to be in the Super Bowl, leading a team to the Super Bowl as a head coach. And also a lot of these younger guys from the Rams team have never been playing to this highest level. I don't want to debate the merit of what happened in those conference games. Those I'll leave up to the radio personnel, leave it all to you fans to kind of debate about that. But I want to congratulate these two teams. We will be seeing them. They will be in Atlanta. They will go through the whole festivities of the Senior Bowl, festivities of the Super Bowl before leading up all the way to Sunday when the final game of the season is played. Now, we'll get into that. Next episode will probably be a discussion, quick recap on what happened in the Super Bowl, whether your team lost, won, whether we're seeing a new legacy or do we see a new champion. All the things always lead up to an exciting time of the NFL, exciting storyline. But before we even get there, these past 2 weeks where I was out with a cold and couldn't get on a new show, two important All-Star game kind of happened in back-to-back weekend. One being the Shrine Game, which is an All-Star game for college players who, didn't get as much exposure didn't get invited to maybe a more prestigious, quote unquote, more prestigious All-Star game such as the Shrine Game. I mean the Senior Bowl. Oh my gosh, I'm everywhere. Sorry. But nevertheless, there are important people that come out from the Shrine Game. In recent years, Eli McGuire was a participant in the Shrine Game. Jimmy Garoppolo was a participant in the Shrine Game. There are several IDP players in the Shrine Game, so this is not to be overlooked. Now, chances are most of them are either going to be undrafted, underdrafted, but they will have an opportunity to work their way up to the depth chart, and it's not to be overlooked. There's only a couple of names that stood out to me as I rewatched the Shrine Game. One being Brett Rippon. I know it's not much of a contribution because I know Kyle Krabs from the Athletics talked about him, but he really did sort of given me a vision of someone who can be an immediate backup, and you'll not be disappointed or not be too worried if your starter ever go down, but perhaps also someone you'll like to watch during a preseason game. Brett Rippon is one that really impressed me with his arm and his ability to just guide the team down to score. Of course, understanding the context, everything has to come into context. Shrine games are very fixed. There's not much variety in defenses and offenses. There's only a certain way to play. But still, at the same time, when you're looking for these traits, when you're looking for these little small things that leads you to believe, oh, this guy might have success in the NFL. Brett Rippon is one of them. The other one is Terry Godwin. No surprise here. I think he won the Shrine Game MVP. Although that does not really mean too much, but just watching Terry Godwin, I've been watching him. I was really intrigued by him in his days at UGA. And of course, being a UGA product, you have to at least give him some weight into the product that they have there. A lot of wide receivers come from that program. We have AJ Green, we have Chris Conley, and all these different players. And Terry Godwin is not the least bit, not the least bit untalented. He actually looks good for. I think I envision him being more so having a limited role in the NFL, but I think this is someone you want to keep an eye on in the NFL draft in your Dynasty League because he will be worth a pickup at some point, being a solid contributor with chances to grow. And this is all we are looking for: people, prospects. Just because this is what they produce on film, this is just what they show that they are within their system, it doesn't mean that this is it for them. There is still a growth that is to happen with better coaching, with professional work routine, with being in a professional environment. Now, not every player does take that opportunity, and this is where we can't figure out who will be elevated from being in a professional and who will be actually falter. And this is okay. You just have to keep that in mind. And we're looking for potential. They have the ability to continue to grow. Terry Godwin will be one of them. So let's talk about going from the Shrine Game to the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl is actually has received quite a bit more publicity, quite a bit more attention from the NFL media. It's not surprising because they invite all the fourth year and maybe early graduates to there, and they typically have a lot of good talent there. Last year we got Baker Mayfield. We got to see a lot of different talent that are showing up right now in the NFL. We were introduced to maybe Cedric Wilson, Braxton Berrios. So some, as you can tell, may not pan out, but they actually have a better chance of being drafted as a early day 3, maybe a late day 2 sometimes, maybe even a day 1. And talent come from here, the names come from here, it's easier to recognize. For this Senior Bowl, there is, again, a bevy of talent. If you want, you can actually listen to our own Ron McLeese and the team of Fakepigskin, who actually went down to the Senior Bowl to watch it, as they do every year, and they can give you their immediate recap and what their eyes tell them of who the good players are. I will also be inviting a couple of people to kind of tell us about their experience in the Senior Bowl over the next month, just to walk us through what they saw, what they're impressed by, and what to watch out for. Most likely, they are very well familiar with the Senior Bowl arena and really enjoy the time there. But nevertheless, there are tons of names, but I'm gonna list off a couple of names that caught my attention just from listening to how they progressed throughout the practice week and just through watching snippets of the game. Andy Isabella being a wide receiver. He's not going to be taught up as a wide receiver one, but when you hear about his skill set, it's something to be excited about. I can see him being a late day 2 guy, maybe an early day 3. He has the route running prowess, he has the hands, and I don't mean the hand size because he's actually possessed one of small hands, but actually a very reliable hand. We have Hunter Renfrow, the super senior who's been at Clemson for forever, got 2 championships with them. Y'all are going to remember when Deshaun Watson threw him the game-winning touchdown at the BCS Bowl a couple of years back. Deebo Samuels has been the talk of the show. There are some likes, dislikes of him, but mostly there's positive buzz about his ability to play, and they're excited about him. Penny Hart was the one that I was surprised by because he comes from a triple offense kind of system, but triple offense is not necessarily a wide receiver killer. It really teaches them well to set themselves up for pass blocking, set themselves up for running certain routes to get themselves open, but they don't really see a ton of volume. Calvin Johnson, needless to remind you, comes from a triple option offense if you have forgotten. But Petty Hart, scouts are excited about him, so I'll give him a chance. I'll give him a look. Others to pay attention to: Tyler Brady out of Marshall, David Sills, Gary Jennings. Dexter Williams is a really underrated running back that I think I would really be targeting in the draft, and I don't even really need to spend a lot of capital to get him because people are excited about all the other running backs with good reason. And Raquel Armstead impressed a bit. I think he'll have a role. And Anthony Johnson. So again, it's Andy Isabella, Hunter Renfrow, Deebo Samuels, Penny Hart, Tyler Brady, David Sills, Gary Jennings, Dexter Williams, Raquel Armstead, and Anthony Johnson. Those are some of the names that you want to track how they do during the combine, during their workout. I think they'll have a role. I think they'll contribute. You'll find them at some point, find them on your Dynasty roster when you need to add depth, when you find yourself having that roster space. A good stash, maybe even a practice squad stash. Last year, I'm still keeping Braxton Berrios on my practice squad. I don't know what his chances are with this incoming class, but I'm willing to take a chance because I know their skill set, I'm familiar with them, and I know that they can be a contributor, solid contributor. Never write off anyone. This is the one lesson I learned over the last 3 years, is to never write off anyone. If someone gives you a reason to be excited about them, no, you don't have to overpay, you don't have to pay, you don't have to chase, but just remember, if they're there on the waiver wire, it's worth a pickup, worth a stash, or at least worth a watch on to monitor, and you pick them up not when the guy ahead of him gets injured, but really the guy 2 steps ahead of him gets injured. He might not be the next man up, but you pick him up first, just in case. And that's kind of how my strategy went, and I think that's how you land on some of these guys. Last year, a great example was Philip Lindsay. I mean, people were thinking, oh, it's Devontae Booker, it's Royce Freeman, but once Booker was proven ineffective, people were all in on Royce Freeman, while Philip Lindsay was left back there. So once you hear some buzz about your next Devontae Booker, you start thinking about the guy not behind him, but the guy behind him. These are the names from the Senior Bowl are likely going to be 3rd, 4th in the depth chart, most likely. All right, so that's it for the recap of Shrine Game Senior Bowl. Go watch the games if you can. I think they're very exciting. You'll get to meet some of the players. It's also for you to know that the game doesn't really mean too much. You'll hear throughout the whole week people are saying one thing about a player, but on game day they show up well, or saying one thing great about them during practice, but they didn't show up in the game. So the game is taken with a grain of salt. It's really fun to see what they look like in a game environment, but still at the same time, when the traits, when the characteristics are not there, I would rather default to scouts. I would rather default to the people who were watching for the traits of the players. Okay, so last week I've given you three names to do your homework on, and I think this will be the last time I'm doing that. Doesn't seem to generate much interest for people to kind of respond and give me feedback about this segment, but I do like to take a chance to look at Benny Snell, which was one of the guys I've asked y'all to kind of evaluate for yourself. Now, the few notes that I have here, I watched his Florida game, I watched his Mississippi State game, and now I'm watching his Georgia game. There is, I think Benny Snell will have a role in the NFL, but I don't see a large role. His skill set is very limited through just 3 films of his, and I'm not saying that I'm very good at this film thing, but I do have a process of just quickly knowing if I should invest more time or I should just allow other scouts to tell me where I'm wrong or where I'm right. Through all these 3 films, 3 games of Benny Snell, I didn't see a lot of differences between them. He presents with the same types of skill set. He presents with the same type of issues as well as strengths. And so some of the themes that I notice is that he'll probably find a limited role in the NFL, much more so than, or much less so. His role will be much less so than, say, a Mike Davis or an Alfred Morris, and I'm talking prime Alfred Morris, of course. That's kind of the mold I'm looking into. He's not much of a pass catcher. He can catch dump-offs, but he's much more of a runner, and today's NFL, that's not really something that you can say that you are something player that you would want on your squad, because the opportunities will even be further limited and or just absolutely buried in the depth chart and just waiting for a miracle to happen before he gets a game time. Now, Benny Snell is strong. I think he has some power to his run ability, but it's not very powerful when you compare it to other backs in this class or even in the previous rookie classes. It's nothing outstanding. It's nothing extraordinary. It does have some power to shed blockers, and he does shed block against sort of one of the upper tier of defenders in the college game who are themselves NFL prospects. So that's a kudos to him. He has questionable vision. I don't know if he is able to read blocks very well. Often I see him run into his own man in the line of scrimmage or the line of contact, and then just bounces off from there. That's not a mark of a good running back to me, because the few seconds that you are running into your own teammate, you are going to be tackled in the NFL. You're going to be taken down. You just cannot have wasted movement, and that is a lot of wasted movement when he decides to run into his own teammate just because he did misread where the gap is going to open. Second thing I'm really not liking about Benny Snell is his very slow recovery when he changes directions or when he is in need of just running a counter or running from sideline to sideline. He does it well enough in a college sense, but in the NFL, I just can't see someone with such slow development and such slow change of direction needing that much time to recover to give you anything. He's going to maybe give you like 2 yards, 3 yards, negative yards. So as you can see, I'm not excited about him. If we're talking about the rookie draft, I'd rather have guys like Jamal Williams. I'd rather have Mike Davis. I'd rather have Jordan Wilkins over Benny Snell. Let other people be excited about the unknown prospects, even if he is down there. Now, again, I have to tell you, prospects can grow. He can definitely gain more skill set. Maybe he wasn't asked to do much of this, and then through professional practices, through coaching, someone can grow. We see this happen in the NFL. Chris Ivory was a runner, a pure runner, someone who doesn't catch a ball when he was with the Jets. And now he finds himself as a pass-catching role at the Jaguars, and then now a pass-catching role at Buffalo. So that's kind of strange to me, as always, but that just tells me that players will develop, players can develop a certain type of skill set. Mike Davis was the same thing. We didn't expect him to be a pass catcher, but he is now being called a pass catching back for the Seattle Seahawks. So, again, players can develop. And but at this point, I think Benny Snell is a very low end kind of guy, and I might pass him up in favor of a long shot wide receiver or a tight end of this class at this point. So that's a bit about Benny Snell. I hope you did some of your homework as well, and this is how you start forming your own opinion about a certain player, and then you wait for the people who actually do put in the work. Buy their draft guides. It's not that expensive. You'll actually be able to buy several draft guides if you skip a whole week of Starbucks. Believe me, I've tried that. And you'll support their work, support their time, their precious time that they've invested into doing this, and then you'll also be able to just streamline your preparations for the draft. So in the next segment, let's talk about guys that I've been tweeting about, or I've tweeted about in the past. I want to talk about the stash candidates that and continue that trend. I will continue to go through the 20 stash candidates, and maybe even more will pop up as we go along. If you have any idea, if you know of any stash candidates, please let me know, and I will dig in. I will talk about them. I will tell you whether I like to stash them. These players are quickly going to be forgotten in the place of the incoming rookies. So that means that you'll have an edge in paying for them and acquiring them, while others become more excited about the long shot rookies who next year will become such as these players, where people are already ready to move on from them because they didn't give them the production. Dynasty, we preach patience. We don't see much practice. Just the sheer fact that you offer a draft pick for some of these low-end stash players, you'll see people jumping on the draft picks much more likely than they will jump on these players, these names. So we're starting off with the Arizona Cardinals. As you can see here, Chase Edmonds. He was employed this year, even though David Johnson wasn't hurt, but he showed up for one game well, and then disappeared for the rest of the season. Or maybe he had another game where he scored a touchdown or something. So Chase Edmonds, to me, fits the profile of someone that will step up well if David Johnson ever gets hurt. Great handcuff option, dynasty stash. If he's not owned by a owner with David Johnson, go see if you can pay for him. A second round pick. I would definitely give that to acquire Chase Edmonds. Getting closer to the draft, when people are become excited about, the Raquel Armstead, the Benny Snells of the world, I would rather have Chase Edmonds. He has experience in the NFL. I've seen him play. I've seen him have some small amount of success, or hints of success, and that's typically what it needs for me, just hints of success, because playing in the NFL is hard. Whether you're playing in preseason, whether you're playing in the regular season, when you have a small amount of flash, it's already enough for me to see, okay, I like you as a stash candidate. I will buy low on you right now before you get the opportunity. Now, the next one I would like to talk about is Ian Thomas. We've seen flashes of him. We've seen him filling in. His contribution is much earlier than we expected, and in the beginning, when Greg Olsen was hurt, he was very under-involved, just a few catches here and there. The second time Greg Olsen got involved, when he was finally ruled out for the rest of the season, we see Ian Thomas used more. And this is rare for a rookie even then to have this type of production, and he's shown to improved over that time. And you see that kind of rapid growth in him. He can be a possession guy. He is plenty athletic enough. The only worry that people might have is that Cam Newton might not play at all in 2019, which gives you an even better buy window for Ian Thomas. People might get more excited about, the rookies of this class, Isaac Nada, maybe even Noah Fant, which, understandably, Noah Fant is probably more talented, probably coming in very, very much but if I were to choose a tight end, I would want one with experience, and I want one with a role. Ian Thomas might be a 2020 payoff in the 2020, but now it's the time to kind of acquire him. And Greg Olsen is not long for the NFL anymore. I can see him retiring, especially if you're telling me that Cam Newton's out, then Panthers is out this whole season of competitiveness. Yes, maybe Kyle Allen will give you a couple of wins here and there, but who is going to expect the Panthers to go to the Super Bowl or go to even the playoffs with Kyle Allen? Certainly, they may have a different idea about him, but I certainly don't think that's necessarily something that will happen for them, and it'll accelerate or increase the potential for Greg Olsen to retire, so that elevates Ian Thomas to the starting job. So the last one I'll talk about is John Kelly, the former president of the United States. He is a lot of the fan favorites, and he was surprisingly drafted by the Rams, where you probably thought, oh, his stock is never going to see any he'll never see an increase in his stock again. Nobody's going to replace Todd Gurley. Now we're beginning to see some signs of weakness in Todd Gurley, injury being one of them. Now, of course, he'll probably recover throughout the offseason. We'll all forget about John Kelly, but don't forget about John Kelly. I think this is a prime buy opportunity, especially with people having in their mind that, oh, Rams might bring back C.J. Anderson. Even if they bring back C.J. Anderson, if you have John Kelly on your roster as a stash, over the years, over this particular year, what I've learned is that things change so fast. Players get traded, even in their second year of their rookie contract, they get traded. So I'm open to that possibility. It cost me barely anything to acquire John Kelly on my roster. And I know that his talent is very apparent, and his value will continually be buried. One, with Todd Gurley. Two, if C.J. Anderson was brought back. Three, people are more excited about the rookies that are in the incoming class, and people are going to be excited about the 2020 class. But John Kelly fits in that mold of a stash wait if he gets the opportunity in an RB2. I think so. I think he'll start off as an RB2. And who knows? Several teams out there might prefer a veteran back over a rookie over this rookie class. They might be willing to shell out to pay for John Kelly when the Rams are more happy with Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson. Who knows? These opportunities, these potential exist, and you need to think wider than that. All right. So those are my three stash candidates: John Kelly, Chase Edmonds, and Ian Thomas. So with that, this concludes today's show. I've managed to keep it under half an hour, and I'm happy with that. So please, again, visit our site at Fakepigskin. I want you guys to pay attention to our open bar. It's always fun. It's always an exciting time there for all our the other podcasts. People are inviting great guests over, and just having a chill time, feeling like yourself at a bar. Just sit down, have a drink, talking with J Mike, talking with all the other great folks. It's a great resource, and you'll gather all the Dynasty minds into one place. Our site will continually provide our one last NFL DFS, the showdown, maybe just the betting. We'll see what Kyle Roberts and Bobby Adcock has in store for us. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, please hit me up on Dynasty Mind at _Dynasty Mind on Twitter. I will be taking on your requests. I will hope be able to read your tweets online, and I will take in consideration any guests you might want me to invite to talk about ways to improve your processes, in ways to sharpen your process. Which reminds me, there it is one request that came in for the Dynasty Mind to read off of. I've asked people what grinds their gear, and of course, I think my very good Twitter buddy Kyle Schwags is complaining about the MFL system. Look, I understand that you pay for a product, and I understand that you would want a better product. Yes, there are certain bugs, but I honestly don't really have that much issue. The only issue I have with MFL right now is their lineup setting, and I will continually provide them with feedback to make it into a drop or a pull down type of system rather than checking the boxes, because it can get really annoying when you have to start 22 players and you miss one and you have to start all over again. But I really don't know what else they need to improve on, because there's very few sites that host such a large and customizable type of website. But if you disagree with me, hit me up on Twitter. We'll debate this to death, and we'll have fun doing so. All right, everyone, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and continue to sharpen that dynasty mind. If you are in part of the draft Twitter, please hit me up and let me know what you're working on, and I will do my best to promote your work as well. So I'm out. I'm hopefully able to entertain you with this show, and just please tell me what you would like to see more of.